This class is brought to you by the LA Care and Blue Shield Promise Community Resource Centers. The centers are a place to help you be active, healthy, and informed. We hope you enjoy this virtual class.
Hi, thank you for joining us today for this class where we are going to be talking about sugar. We are first going to talk about sugar, the kind that we add to our foods, such as this one here. And then later on, we are going to be preparing a drink using all of the fruits and vegetables that we see here to learn how to create drinks without all of the added sugar. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the different effects that sugar has on our health and why it is that we want to avoid it as much as we can. So we have two participants with us here today, and they are going to be asking questions, making comments, and perhaps the questions that they ask might be questions that you have as well. So I'm looking forward to those questions to make sure that that expands everything that we learn about sugar today. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask you a question. So why do you think it's important for us to avoid sugar as much as possible? Now again, we are talking about sugar, the kind that we add to our foods like this one. We are not talking about the natural sugar that is found in foods, particularly things like fruits, vegetables, and milk. Okay, so those are the three places where we're going to find the natural sugars. Not talking about those, we're talking about the added sugar. Why do we want to avoid sugar?
Diabetes.
Very good, diabetes. Okay, thank you for that answer. Sugar is linked to diabetes, right? We know that if we eat a lot of sugar, it can lead to obesity, and obesity is actually one of the risk factors for diabetes. A lot of people think sometimes that, they're going to eat sugar and that automatically gives them diabetes. That's not the case. But sugar, if we consume a lot of sugar, it can lead to obesity, which then itself can lead to diabetes. It's a risk factor for diabetes. So very good. Why else do we want to avoid sugar? So another reason why we want to avoid sugar is the risk of heart disease. Did you know that the consumption of sugar is actually associated to the risk of heart disease? Did you know that? No, you didn't know that? Okay. Mm-hmm. It's linked to the risk of heart disease, and that is because sugar consumption can actually lead to things like inflammation. And inflammation can then lead to things like heart disease. The overconsumption of sugar is also linked to things like atherosclerosis, which means the hardening of the arteries. And so that, again, risk of heart disease, right? So risk of heart disease, also with acne. Did you know that sugar is also associated to the production of acne? Yeah, it's also linked to acne because what happens is when we consume sugar in excess amounts, not only does it lead to a high level of insulin, but that high level of insulin leads to a high level of androgen. It also leads to a high level of oil production and also inflammation. Okay, and so high levels of androgen, which is a hormone in the body, high levels of oil production, and high levels of inflammation, all three are associated to acne. Now let me ask you this. Does sugar have any vitamins and minerals? Does sugar have any vitamins or minerals? No, sugar does not have any vitamins or minerals. It does not provide any nutrients. When foods do not provide any nutrients, we get the calories, but we don't get any nutrients. Do you know what those calories are called? They are called empty calories. Why are they called empty calories? Because they are void of what? Vitamins and minerals. There's nothing there, right? There is no nutritional value. Mm-hmm. The only thing that we get from those empty calories is what? Calories, right? And so in a day, remember that if we eat more calories than what we burn, then we're going to gain weight. That's how it leads to obesity. And so we want to make sure that we keep our consumption of added sugar down, right? Also, we have to keep in mind that when sugar enters the body, it is the liver that takes care of taking that sugar and metabolizing it and either using it as energy or storing it as fat. And so if we consume a lot of sugar, then it can definitely lead to the point where the liver can only store so much of it that then we start having issues like fatty liver. Okay? So again, we have to be really careful. It's definitely not worth the risk, right? Of eating a lot of foods that have sugar, when there's all of these health issues that are associated to it. Do you know how much sugar is recommended that we eat per day? Now, when I say recommendation, I don't mean that that's what is recommended that we eat. I mean that that's the limit. That's where they say, you know what, this is as much added sugar as you should be eating in a day or drinking in a day. So do you remember or do you know how much added sugar is recommended for men and for women and for children? So 6, I heard 6.
Sí,
Is that men, women, or children?
The men.
Men, 6? Okay, so men's a little bit more than 6. It's actually women.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so women 6. So the added sugar recommendation for women is 6 what? 6 teaspoons. Okay,
Oh.
so 6 teaspoons would be 6 of these. This is a teaspoon. 6. And for men? Okay, good guess. So men is 9. Men is 9. And then children?
No.
4.
Okay, so I hear 4. So very good guess. 3 to 6, depending on the age. Okay? So children is going to be 3 to 6. Okay, depending on the child's age. So that's not a lot of sugar, is it? That's very little sugar. Okay? Because each teaspoon, we're talking about these. Right? This is 1 teaspoon. Okay? So just think about that. 3 in a day for children. That's it. This is all that added sugar. So if you take, their meals, say the yogurt, if it's flavored, if it has added sugar, if they drink soda, what else do children like? Candy, chocolates, all of these things, you put them together, it's going to probably be a lot more than the 3, right? The 3 teaspoons of sugar. So now, when we are going to calculate the sugar in our food, if we look at the label, does it tell you how many teaspoons of sugar the food has? Does it measure sugar in teaspoons?
No.
How does it measure sugar? Very good. In grams. Very good. So if it's telling us in grams, and we know that we can't have more than 6 teaspoons, for example, as women, then what do we do? How do we take the grams and convert them into teaspoons?
Divided by spoon.
By how much?
4.
Okay, very good, Perla, very good.
Bella.
Yeah, we take the grams of sugar and we divide them by 4. And because every teaspoon of sugar has 4 grams, right? Okay, so what we're going to do next, I have here some drinks, okay, different kinds of drinks. I have dark soda, I have light color soda, I have fruit punch, I have orange juice, all kinds of things, right? And I have the amount of grams of sugar per serving. So when I'm talking about the amount of grams of sugar, 1 serving, for example, could be a cup, okay? Now, a lot of people, let's say soda, for example. A lot of people drink more than a cup. In fact, a can of soda, I think it already has more than a cup. It has like 12 ounces, I think, perhaps. So when you're talking about grams of sugar in a cup, you also have to consider that a lot of times we don't just drink a cup, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to calculate the grams of sugar in different kinds of drinks, and I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to get to see the amount of sugar in the drinks that we're looking at, okay? In regards to how many teaspoons they have. Now, I am going to do 1 or 2, and then I'm going to have one of you come up here and do 1 for me, okay? Okay. So here I have dark soda. Okay, this is soda, the dark one. And my serving is 12 ounces. So actually is the can of soda, right? Because we mentioned that a can is more than 8 ounces. So 12 ounces, we have 8 here, plus half a cup, which would be 4, that's 12 ounces. That much soda, okay? Or a can of soda. So this particular brand has 39 grams of sugar. So you said divide by 4, right? That's what you said? And so if I take 39 and I divide it by 4, how many teaspoons of sugar does my soda have? Okay, 9 3/4, right? 9 3/4. And so that's almost 10?
Yeah.
Okay, and so then let's go ahead and take a look at how much sugar that is, okay? 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So when I'm drinking my can of dark soda, this is how much sugar is in that can. What do you think? No? That's a lot of sugar, right? 1 can of soda, this is how much sugar it has, okay? Okay, now here I have, let's say the orange flavored soda, okay? Now this one is also 12 ounces, 1 can, but this one is orange flavored soda. This one has 45 grams of sugar, 45.
45. Onzas, dice? Onzas?
Grams of sugar.
Oh, 11.25.
11.25. So a little bit more than 11, right? Now we're talking the orange soda. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then a little bit more than 11. So a little bit more, but there you go. Orange soda, dark soda. Okay. Now, sometimes people say, well, you know what? I don't drink dark soda. I drink light color soda because somehow they think it's healthier, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea that they have. Okay, so this is a light color soda, also 12 ounces. This one has 39 grams of sugar. And so see, look it. It's the same as the dark soda.
Yeah.
It's the same as the dark soda. Okay? The difference might be that it might not have caffeine, but in regards to the sugar, it's the same. Okay? So if you're trying to avoid sugar, neither one is a good choice, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. All right? So there are the sodas. How many of you like horchata? Horchata's good, right? The rice water. Okay, now we're just talking 8 ounces. Okay? Remember these? How many ounces? 12.
Oh.
The can. 8 ounces. Only this one. Okay? Only this. Not that. So now we're talking 26 grams of sugar.
6.5.
6.5. Okay, very good. So we're gonna put 7 in here. 2, 4, 6, and 7. So we have 7 little cubes of sugar in the horchata. 7. Okay?
Sure.
A lot of sugar. Do you have any questions?
No.
So let's go ahead then and practice what we learned. So we're going to have a participant now who is going to come up, and she is going to calculate the amount of sugar in other drinks that we have here as well. So I have Perla, and I'm going to have her do an orange juice that, even though it's orange juice, it has a lot of flavors, has a lot of colors. It's not real orange juice, it just has the orange juice flavor. And then we are going to do a frappuccino just to see what we are drinking in our frappuccino. So let's do those two, okay? So let's go ahead and start with the orange juice. So what's the first thing that we want to look at?
It's grams.
Okay.
14 grams.
14 grams of sugar, thank you. Okay, so what are we going to do?
14 divided by 4.
Okay, very good. 14 divided by 4. That's okay. Yeah, I can see the 4. Okay, so 14 divided by 4. So what does that give me?
4 por 3
Uh-huh.
3.
3.
5.
3 point. Yes, very good. 3.5, right?
Yeah.
3.5. So go ahead and put your little sugar cubes. So 3.5. So 4. Almost 4.
4.
Okay, very good. Now, how many ounces of juice are we talking about?
8.
8 ounces. So that's it, right?
Yeah.
Is this how much juice kids like to drink?
No.
Do they drink more or less?
More.
A lot of times they drink more than 8
Yeah.
ounces, right?
Mhm.
So 8 ounces is 3.5 grams of sugar, or 3.5 teaspoons, sorry. So think about that, okay? So they could be drinking even 7 teaspoons of sugar in just one meal. And then if this is on the side of pancakes or French toast, a lot of sugar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, So the other drink is the Frappuccino. So what does that have?
It's 13.7.
Those are the ounces. So we are talking about, this is 8, this is about 12, so a little bit more than these two together, a little bit more. And how many grams of sugar?
46.
46 grams, okay. 46.
Divided 4.
Uh-huh. How much is 4 times 10?
11.5.
Okay, very good.
No,
11.5.
see?
Yeah, 11 and a half, right? Because you got, yeah, very good, very good.
Gracias.
That's almost 12, right?
2,
Almost 12.
4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Yes. 13.7 ounces. It's the ones that come in a bottle, okay? So yeah.
Eso, de vez en cuando.
Sugar. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so what are some ways that you can think of in which we can avoid sugar? Besides making our own drinks, what are some of the ways that you, or things that you are going to start doing to avoid added sugar? So let's say, for example, let's say I know some of you, you don't drink any soda, and that's okay, but it isn't just in soda that we find added sugar, right? Where else can we find added sugar? And what I mean by added sugar is that you take the food, you look at the label, and the label actually says sugar or one of the 100 names of sugar, right?
Are you looking at the ingredients?
Very good. We just mentioned, right? Look at the label. We're going to look at the ingredients. We want to make sure that it doesn't have sugar in the list of ingredients, or if it has sugar, then we want to make sure that sugar is at the lower end of that list. Because what happens is when we look at the list of ingredients, the ones that are listed first are the ones that food has more of. Okay? So more, less. And so we want to find it towards the bottom, right? We want it to be less of, not more of the sugar. Okay? What else can we do to avoid added sugar or reduce our consumption? Let's start with that. Because avoiding it 100% might be a little bit hard, right? But how else can we reduce our consumption? So perhaps, for example, if we are going to have, let's say, fruits, we want to make sure that we stick to the fresh fruits as much as possible. And if we're going to have fruits that are canned, we want to make sure that they come in fruit juice, not syrup, right? So that's another way that we can avoid added sugar or at least reduce our consumption. Okay? All right, so those are 2 ways right there. And so be on the lookout. Take a look at the ingredients. Avoid these drinks as much as possible. Best thing to drink is always water if we are thirsty. But when that's not the case, make sure that you look at the labels, okay? Now, we are going to move on to making our own drink for today. What we are going to make today, we're actually going to make our own drink, but we're going to add the whole, if we're adding fruit, it's the whole thing. We're not just juicing it, we're adding the whole thing. So this is going to be more like a smoothie than a juice, but we can add a lot of water and that makes it more of a juice. But we're going to be eating the whole thing, okay? Well, it's just going to be blended. So let me then clean up a little bit here, and then we are moving on to our juice. Sounds good? So we're back, and what we are going to do now is prepare our juice using fruits and vegetables. More vegetables than fruits, as you can see, because that is the recommendation, that in a day we eat more vegetables than fruit. So I have 2 frozen strawberries, 1/3 of a small banana, a Brussels sprout. I have an apple here, but I'm only going to be using about 1/3 of it. I have red chard, and I'm going to be using the red chard without the stalk because that can be a little bit bitter. I have celery, and I also have spinach. Now you will notice that none of our ingredients are canned, but if I wanted to add canned fruits or vegetables, that would be okay. And that's one thing that I want you to keep in mind. Canned fruit is not unhealthy. What we want to do is read the labels to make sure that they don't have added sugar or added salt. Otherwise, it should be okay. It will have its vitamins and it will be healthy. So fresh, frozen, canned, we can use any of them. So let's go ahead and make our juice. The first thing we're going to do is add water, and I'm going to add about a cup. And then I just basically add all of my ingredients. My banana, Brussels sprout, strawberries, a third of an apple, my celery, the spinach, and then just the leaves from the chard. And my juice is ready to blend. So I'm gonna blend it and I will be back. So we went ahead and blended our fruits and vegetables, and our juice is now ready to be served and enjoyed. And so with that, we have reached the end of today's presentation. Let's review what we learned today. We first talked about sugar. We talked about its effects on health. We then talked about empty calories, what the term means, and where those calories can be found. We talked about the sugar limits for men, for women, and for children. And then we went ahead and we calculated the amount of teaspoons of sugar that are found in different popular drinks. We then moved on to our recipe, where we made our own vegetable and fruit juice. And we also talked about how if we are going to be eating fruits and vegetables, they can be fresh, they can be frozen, or they can be canned. All of them are going to provide us nutrients. Thank you so much for joining me. We look forward to seeing you virtually again next week and at one of our resource centers as soon as we can. Until then, stay active, healthy, and informed.